So I wanted to get Stevie on because he's got some colorful. He's had a colorful life. Stevie's 29 years old and has done a lot of stuff in that time, and it's an interesting thing because you start telling stories and they just get better and better. But the good thing is you can prove them all. That's what's crazy.
How old are you?
Photo evidence, 29.
29. How long did you spend? Yeah, so now let's go. Let's start from the beginning.
Hold on before. So who canceled that Callen had to hit up his sketchy felon friend to come on the podcast?
We got a felon on.
Guys, this is the fighter, the felon, and the kid today. I don't know if you're aware.
Exactly.
Callen vouched for you, so.
Yeah, he's. I think sometimes you got to have colorful people on. Stevie's you're starting out with stand up. You're doing well.
Yep.
You sent me some stuff. It's really funny.
How long
I think
have
you
you
got a
been
lot
doing
of talent.
I first did stand up in 2011 while I was on trial for my federal case, and so I did a few open mics, and I was just in the comedy mindset when I went to prison. So I got to write.
That
and
makes sense.
It's good. Prison's like comedy college. Like
really,
when if you can like break things down, like get in that mode, there's just endless material.
And how long were you in there for?
3.5 years.
That's a lot of time.
How many months do they give you? It's usually months,
60.
right? 60 months.
It was, but then when I got out, I just started hitting open mics, hitting comedy like every week as much as I could.
When you were on trial, you thought about doing comedy?
I couldn't do any. I guess I always was into comedy. Like it was one of those things. Like I have ex-girlfriends who I was with in like middle school who found out I'm doing this now. I'm like, oh yeah, you always wanted to do it. And I was just like, did I? And
That's like Brennan being like Brent. We had this creative meeting yesterday, coming up with ideas, and Brennan is with me and a guy named Mitch Rouse who couldn't be more. Like he's an all-star. He's an all-star. He's like a sketch comedy / improv all-star. And what was funny is Brendan was, you'd think that Brendan would take a back seat in that situation because me and Mitch are coming up with ideas. But Brendan actually came up with 3 of the funniest ideas that turned out to be these great ideas. And what I realized was that, in a way, his body pushed him towards sports, but his mind has always been way more about presentation, performance, and art. He's artistic, So maybe it's the same thing with you. But how the fuck did you fall into, like, what got you into jail in the first place? Tell us your odyssey.
Yeah, I had a crazy life before that.
Grew up where?
I grew up in Boston, a suburb of Boston called North Andover, which is like a really nice upper class town. It's like, it makes no sense.
Isn't that where Andover? Is that where Andover Academy is?
Phillips Academy. All the presidents go to that school.
Phillips Academy is, and I've been there many times and played sports there many times because I went to Northfield Mount Herman.
Yep.
And Phillips Andover is, in many ways, the best high school you can get into.
Oh yeah.
So
I didn't get in.
So you're from this fancy nice area in Boston. Continue.
Yep. So if you really do we want to get real back, like with the whole
for sure
stuff and
everything? Oh, this is crazy.
This is where
bring it.
So I'm 16, 17 years old. I'm in high school. Started doing steroids for the first time. I was really into bodybuilding. I was never into really team sports because I always got kicked off the team, right? Not because I was like an asshole or anything, but because like for grades and stuff like that, because you know how in school they do that like end of the semester,
certain
you're not making
GPA.
Certain GPA. Because I always got in trouble in school, not like bad trouble, but I'd always be skipping classes, being like a wise ass, like the class clown type thing, and so I was really into bodybuilding. I got into that because it's more of an individual thing. You couldn't throw me off my own gym team. What I mean? So I get into
You're
that.
your own coach.
I'm 16, 17 years old, and I started doing steroids for the first time.
That's good for you.
Yeah, great for
Makes
good
sense.
stuff.
This was back in 2002.
So you're doing like DECA,
I was
Dianabol.
doing Test, DECA, Equipoise. I was on some shit.
Jesus Christ.
And I start getting like big. I start, it's working obviously. And one of the football coaches, I'm walking down the hallway with my arms out like this, like, 'cause I think I'm all jacked. And the football coach goes, "What are you doing? Put your fucking arms down." And I was like, "I can't, bro. Fucking look."
Get some lats, son.
I thought they were lats. I had these giant-sized grapefruits under my arms, which my lymph nodes completely swelled up. The coach grabs my arm. He goes, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Dude," brought me to the hospital immediately. They did an emergency biopsy, sliced me open. I have stage 5B Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Damn.
One of the latest stages of the cancer they've ever found.
And you just thought you were swolled up.
I thought I was jacked,
Well, you were
bro.
sweating, right?
But the thing was, I thought everything that was happening to me negative, I thought was from the steroids.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the night, I would wake up, be literally soaked in this weird smelling sweat, freezing cold, hot flashes, giant things under my arms. I couldn't stay up during the day. I brought an oven timer to school, and I used to skip classes, go to my car, and have to sleep for a couple classes to make it through the day. And I just thought, I was just like, it's these fucking workouts.
Yeah, at least I look good. At least I look good for the ladies.
Yeah, because I'm killing it in the gym, you know?
Fucking meathead.
Cancer.
Fucking meathead, man.
Cancer.
As long as I look swole, man, I don't care.
The doctor was literally like, if you waited 3 weeks, maybe a month, they would have just found you dead in your sleep. Like, your
Damn.
body was just like
Shutting down.
shutting down. My body just started to shut down. So I started, emergency chemotherapy, radiation, the whole fucking thing. And if anybody out there, as anybody who's going through it or can't, just go hug them. Go give them a fucking hug.
I bet it's a beast,
dude,
man. I can't imagine.
It is a fucking beast. And it's like most other things where it's like 90% mental. It's just this mental game that you got to play with yourself. Because, being at the time, I was really into bodybuilding and literally just having to sit back and watch my body deteriorate.
Shrivel up, yeah.
And there's
all your
nothing,
gains.
Yeah, nothing. All those gains.
All those gains.
Oh my
son.
fucking
All the
gains.
fucking
bro.
gains.
There was nothing you can do. And that was, such a fucking, it was terrible. And I'm, a vain, I love.
We all are, buddy.
We're all like that,
Most dudes are, yeah.
Yeah, really into looks and stuff. And I remember my doctor, because me and my doctor kind of had this weird little riff after a little while. Because first I was just like, listen, bro, I don't really care about my head. I can wear a hat if my hair falls out. What can I do? Because I don't want to lose my eyebrows, my eyelashes, because that just looks fucking weird. You know what I mean? I was really concerned about. I didn't give a shit about the physical things and all that. I didn't even ask questions about any of that.
Did you think you were gonna die though?
Oh yeah, 100%.
You did.
This is where the thing with me and the doctor kind of got in, because it all started. That was my first concern. I didn't care about internal problems, any of that. I was like, I don't want to lose my fucking eyelashes or eyebrows. That was it. And he was like, don't worry, you're young. He's like, your hair might get thinner, that's it. Literally 2 weeks later, a couple chemotherapy sessions, I was sleeping. I'll never forget, I wake up, I look down at my pillow, and literally my eyebrows and eyelashes were on my pillow.
Damn.
Full head of hair still. And I looked like the mask from Scream. Yeah. Remember that? I was like,
yeah.
I was just fucking this white face. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So it was at that point, me and the doctor, all of a sudden it was like everything he said. I was like, fuck this guy. I was like, the one thing that he was like, don't worry, assured me that said wasn't going to happen, fucking happened.
By the way, it's just interesting though that you're dying and you're worried about your eyelashes.
it.
That's a 16-year-old meathead.
Yeah, for real.
That's
That's it.
So then you call the doc, you're like, dude, eyebrows and eyelashes fell off. What the fuck,
done.
man?
And he was just like, he just said some bullshit.
For sure.
Oh, yeah,
It's not his
all this.
fault.
It's
Yeah.
not his. Yeah,
Yeah, at
he
the
couldn't
time
have
you're
done
pissed, though.
anything.
No.
Yeah,
What's
it was
he gonna
probably
do?
me thinking about it
Yeah.
so much that I was dreaming don't fall out, don't fall out. And they fucking fell out. But that caused, because they had me on all these pills, they had me on all this stuff. That was literally, they wanted to just keep me zonked out.
Like opiates?
Yeah,
What are we talking about?
I mean, dude, Klonopins, anti-anxiety stuff, all types of stuff just to kind of
Trouble.
keep you along, so you're kind of there, kind of not. You're just blah.
Just numb.
Just numb. So you're just like that. Then you kind of just,
Get through it.
But not
So they were
really.
giving you palliative care in a way.
Yeah,
Because they assumed you were gonna die.
They assumed I was gonna die, so they were just giving me all this medication.
Did
so
they
I could
tell
just
you
go.
that? Did they ever?
They didn't tell me, but they told stuff like that to my parents.
16.
Yeah, because
Really,
I
you
just
describe it to 'em?
yeah.
I mean, but sometimes some doctors. Are,
Yeah, I literally would hear my parents on the phone talking to people about stuff like that, and it didn't even bother me at the time. I was just kind of I don't know, I can't even explain it. I still don't even understand how I was kind of just whatever,
Jesus.
Well,
It's
it was a catastrophe.
Yeah,
right?
it was just all this shit, and it was just so they started giving me all those pills, and then I just said fuck it, and I was doing worse and worse and worse, steadily in the beginning. So I was doing everything they told me to do, taking all those pills and all this shit, and I just said fuck it. I stopped taking all the pills. So I had all I did is I really just smoked weed, and I'd eat good. But I wouldn't drink. I couldn't drink alcohol because
your liver's
dude.
shot.
If I tried to drink, I'd be fucking deathly sick because you're in high school, you know. Kids want to still hang out with me. Everybody shaved their head. We went to prom that year. It was like
That's cool.
Yeah,
man.
it was a cool thing. Yeah.
Wow.
But it was like this town thing. Like I kind of had the support of the town, and I think that's why I had to always just keep this like it doesn't bother me face, because if they saw me break down, I think that they would have fucking
you have to be
flipped
strong,
out.
yeah,
I had to
for
be
sure.
like the one that was like, "Nah, we're good."
I can
You
understand
know,
that,
it was
yeah.
just this. So I stopped taking all the pills, and I just start. You know, I was smoking a lot, but as I stopped taking the pills, I got better.
Your body got stronger.
My body got stronger. I got more confident in a way where I was kind of just like, you know, like
You don't need that.
yeah, I
stuff.
was like, I don't need this shit. And it just kind of like woke me up a little bit to be like, instead of this like zombie kind of like, you know, trooping around
Yeah.
with really no purpose, to where I was just like, you know, fuck this.
That's cool.
I was like, I
man.
can fucking,
Good for
we
you.
can do this. But but the chemo, man, it was so rough that like, that's why today when I know people that are going through it, it's just like, it's such a beast, because you go in there and it's an IV bag, because you think chemo, at least I did before, you think it's this big process or some shit, and all it is, you sit in a chair like this with an IV bag, and then the thing drips down, and it takes about 4 to 6 hours for that bag to go out. And as the bag gets smaller and smaller, you feel worse and worse and worse and worse, and you just sit there and slowly.
Well, because it kills all the cells.
Yeah, it just. I would walk into the hospital and they'd have to bring me out in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
That's
have
how
you
it
seen that
happened.
movie with Seth Rogen? I think it's 50-50. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Where he has cancer and they're getting the chemo.
I didn't
and he's
see
there with
that.
the
Oh,
old
wait, I
guys.
did see that.
And
I
they're
did see
smoking
that.
weed and they're all older and they're
Mm-hmm.
all smoking weed, getting their chemo. And then as he goes on, like he comes back and it was 5 and now it's 3.
Now it's 3, yeah.
It's super sad.
Dude, know
man.
what did it for me? Did you see Funny People?
Yep.
That-
Hell yes.
Bro, that fucked. I went to see Funny People with this chick, I remember when it came out, and I wasn't expecting that. And like, cause that whole scene where he goes into the office and he gets, you know, diagnosed with the cancer, and then that feeling when you walk back out into the world and you feel like the world should kind of stop and come over to you.
No one gives
You'd
a
be like-
fuck. Keeps,
and the
keeps on keeping
birds
on.
keep chirping, people keep going by, and you're just
What a
like,
lesson. What a
Like,
life
come
lesson.
on, man.
They nailed it in Funny People. And I saw with this chick, I broke down the movie theater, started fucking crying.
That was a terrible movie to go to.
I didn't know it was about that. I don't even think. And she didn't even know I had cancer, because I usually don't bring it up to chicks right away. It's kind of like the last line of defense if everything else doesn't work.
Is it? I see. I feel like it'd be good.
else-
No,
Like
oh, no.
you go up to some dime piece. Like,
Oh, no, it
how you
works.
doing? Me?
But
I'm all right. What's the matter? I got cancer. You got a couple days left.
Yeah.
but that's why I
I
put.
feel like it's a easy shoot.
no, it
just
is.
saying.
But I put the prison stuff first, which is right there. With
Really?
dude, yes, yes.
Really?
Can I be honest
That's
with you?
that
Yeah.
Boston
Stevie
shit.
Blue Eyes,
Well, he's
He-
a looker.
he takes it down.
So you have
takes
to.
it down.
You got a nice arsenal in your pocket
Yeah,
because
I got
depending on the
that.
girl, you can throw out cancer if she's like, not really. Like, yeah, that's cool. I did some time though. What?
And then I got a third that Bryan just found out about too.
You got a piece?
Well, that too. So
I thought
got
you were gonna say
4.
that, yeah.
So I got the music thing too.
You can sing?
Yeah,
I
you
can
can play the
play
guitar,
guitar
like,
like
a motherfucker.
fucking.
Damn,
Jimi
shit, I
Hendrix,
might
bro.
date you. Shit, sing cancer in prison?
That's it's
Not bad,
shit.
right?
It's
You
a
do,
good
you,
little-
yeah. He does very well in that department. Well, now, so take us.
Oh,
you
yeah.
get
Going, this is
cured.
it.
Yeah, let me.
We're gonna sidetrack you
yeah.
along the way, but
Oh,
you just
no.
gotta keep
Fuck,
on.
I
You
just-
just gotta
moving.
keep on
Yeah.
keeping on,
Keep
man.
on.
But
Keep it
let me
on.
just tell you just one quick that like you have like certain moments, like in your life that like there's like there's a line before and after. There's
For
like
sure,
that type of
some
thing.
star moments.
Yeah, one of the times was when I was really late in chemotherapy. I was like, I don't know how many months in. It's a fucking blur. 7-8 months in. But like it was one of the times where I came out of it was July, I remember this. I came out of the treatment in a wheelchair, got thrown in my mother's car. AC was broken. All right. And I was in downtown Boston. We're sitting in traffic.
It's tough.
And dude, it's 1,000 degrees. Windows are down. I'm just like, I already feel like death. And this is like, even worse. And it was just all this shit was building up. And at that exact moment, I was sitting there. I just remember looking outside. And for the first time in my life throughout the whole thing, I thought, like, fuck it. It might just be easier to kind of, this isn't worth doing.
That makes
this
sense.
is no way to live. You don't want to feel like this.
Yeah.
And this isn't life.
Hey,
you know?
mom, for sure get the AC
Yeah.
going. Huh?
Hey, Mom.
But
Here's
that-
chicken noodle soup.
Yeah.
It's 100 degrees out. What the fuck are we doing?
It's funny what
Yeah.
air
Mom, you
conditioning-
make me want to
What?
die.
Funny what, yeah,
How
funny
about
what-
that?
What a
Yeah.
lack of air conditioning
Dude,
doing.
dude,
I'd
it was-
rather die than
I-
ride in this car right now. How about that, Mom? I'd rather die.
But that was the first time in my life, in that whole time, that I ever honestly like
Thought about
would
giving
say,
up?
Yeah, gave up. Like I gave up in that moment, and that in that exact moment, a fucking wasp flies in the window and stings me in my eyeball.
Get the fuck out of here.
Right hand. See this red dot under
Yeah, I
my
do.
eye?
Oh, fuck.
That's from the bee.
We're not talking about a little
stinging
bee.
my-
We're talking about
a
as
fucking-
Callen would say, a hornate
You're talking about a
from
hornate.
heaven.
It was
A hornate
giant-
from heaven.
And I was sitting
From
there
hell.
depressed,
Or
and
heaven.
I said,
You're right.
Heaven.
You're right.
I was like,
It's not a dove. For you, it had to be a fucking wasp.
I was like, I'm ready to go, and then bam!
God was like, God damn it,
Yeah.
send the hornate. And then,
And then-
zing, oh, God. Oh, you're right.
I got it.
Oh, God.
and that's
I got it. Dude, that really
Really,
hurts.
dude.
What a shithead
when
wasp.
Or awesome.
and
Yeah,
because it
good
just
point.
showed
You
me
have to
that
jump off the bridge.
no matter what point you're in, it can get worse. It
Just when
can
you thought it can get
always
any
get
worse.
worse. And now I have this fucking red dot on my face
remind you,
the
man.
rest of my life. Every day I see it, and I say that's when I gave up.
That's
and I'll
pretty cool,
never
though.
do that again. I will
pretty dope, man.
never fucking do that
That's
again.
amazing.
So then you
man.
obviously the cancer went into remission.
Yeah, well, so this is how I got into the whole. This adds to the little thing. So
I'm
as
not mad at
I
this long story.
as I said, this is just the beginning, dude.
Bring it.
As I said in the beginning, I stopped taking all the pills. I stopped taking everything they were prescribing me. So I had this fucking little stockpile of pills. And then everybody at the time, they knew I was smoking to help out with like my appetite, all that stuff. So it really does help with the nausea and all that. So I had a bunch of weed too. So I just started selling all the pills and all the weed that I had left over from the chemotherapy treatments and that whole thing. So that snowballed because I dropped out of high school at the time because I thought I was a junior in high school and I thought, I was like, I'm not fucking staying
No, if you're
around
gonna
high school.
die, you're
I was
sure
like,
as fuck not going to
I was
social
like, oh,
studies.
yeah, let me go to social
The
studies.
last thing I'd rather do than go to social studies.
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Huh?
I'm gonna
I'm
sit.
fucking dying.
And Robert Moses, when he planned New
Yeah.
York City on a map,
Eighth period statistics? Nah. See ya.
algebra, how about sticking? How about
I
a
would have
wasp
done
in my
some
eye?
horrible shit if I thought I had 2 years
Yeah,
left.
that's why it was
Oh.
just like I thought, I was like, I'm out of school. So left. I got my GED though. So like
That's a good.
I got that, but that's when the whole even thought of selling drugs and that type of lifestyle entered. Was at
Well,
that
because you
point.
had all these
'Cause I had
leftovers,
all
then
these
people were
drugs
asking
sitting
for
there.
it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, well, I'll give you $20 for
Yeah, and I had
Oxycontin. You're
yeah,
like, all right.
exactly, and that's just where I got introduced into that work. Because everybody, it's high school. How much can you be?
And you're in a small
involved?
town.
And you're in a small town, exactly. So I, started. That just started, a little snowball effect. So I started doing that. Then I moved out of my house. I moved to Lowell, Massachusetts, which is like. It's a pretty rough area, but it has UMass Lowell where a bunch of my friends were living. So
right.
I moved in with them. I went to a community college because I got my GED, and I was going there. But that's when stuff like I was just in this weird mindset where like all that shit with the cancer just happened, and like I still didn't really process it right. I still don't even think I have to this day.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of like in this fuck it mentality.
Were you mad at society?
Yeah, I was mad. Like I was just mad.
Sure.
I wasn't like a violent kid. I would
No.
never been like that. But I was just like, my relationship with my parents started kind of go downhill, and it was just like, I was just mad.
I get that.
It was just so I continued that behavior with selling drugs,
Being a rebel a little
being
bit.
exactly, because I kind of was just like, fuck it, like like who's looking, you can't. What am I gonna do?
Your contract with
Yeah.
life had been broken
exactly,
a little bit, right?
and
Yeah.
it's like. I forget where I heard it, but it describes it so well. That like once you're at death's door like that, like when you fucking stared the Grim Reaper in the face, basically, and then you get sucked back to real life. It's hard to try to go and like learn things from people who haven't been through shit.
For
And
sure.
they're
Yeah, it's
trying-
hard to. yeah,
I'm
I
like
get it.
That's
trying to
interesting. That's like being through a form of a war.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's
Veterans talk about that.
yeah,
Combat veterans.
It's just like people would try to tell me things. I just be like, well, who the fuck you to tell me anything? Like what? Like really? It was
Have you ever
just
been stung in the eye by a
By a
hornate?
wasp.
While you're
motherfucker?
dying?
Yeah.
When
With
you-
no
have you-
AC
Have
in
you
a
ever given
caravan?
up on life
Yeah.
in 1,000-degree weather in Boston and then got stung in the eye by
And
a
your
wasp?
mom offers you fucking hot noodle soup?
I don't even think she ever knew I got stung by the wasp too, because I got stung by the wasp and I just kind of went like,
You wanted to die.
yeah, I just kind
It
of
hit you in the eye, or were you just like,
yeah,
"Oh."
I was just like exactly. I was just like, you fucking serious? Like it was just like I went, and then I'd get home and I'd go back in my room because the chemo would be on a Wednesday. I'd feel like death until about Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, I'd feel better.
Yeah.
But then you got to go back Wednesday, and that's why it's such a fucking mental.
Yeah, because
so then you get to call and you start slanging these drugs.
Yeah, I started.
Where were you getting more of the drugs though?
It was
because you ran out of your original supply.
I ran out of that when I moved to Lowell. I was kind of in that networking vibe where like I knew what I wanted to. I knew how the business worked now. I knew how much things should cost. Where like before I didn't really know what things. You know, you could walk into that blind, you get ripped off
for sure
easily. So I just got, because I was started like I didn't learn my lesson. I started doing steroids like immediately after. That was another thing. Like everyone was like, "You can't do it. You're gonna get canned." I was like, fuck it, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So I started doing steroids again, hanging out at this gym, and I was hanging out with all older guys, and they were the ones who kind of geared me into the direction further into the drugs and stuff like that.
So they took you down a deep
They
hole.
took me down. Yeah.
Was it one guy?
There was a few. It was just like
all
this
of them were slinging drugs.
Yeah, everybody back then. It was like a kind of different in that.
Is the steroid market and the drug market? It's all kind of
it's
underground.
all connected.
It's a dark world.
Everything led to, like, everything was connected in a way. Like I started getting a few ounces of weed, and within 2 years, I was bringing trucks over the border of New York and Canada with thousands of pounds.
That really escalated.
Who were you working? You had to have been
quickly.
You got connected to mafia guys.
Yeah.
But how's it even happen? So you're basically, hustling the gram here, whatever. There's pills here, and then someone just like, "Hey man, you want to make real money?"
It was I'd just go to
and
the
you're
store.
like, "Sure, man, you seem trustworthy.
That sounds funny.
I'll take
You wanna
1,000 freaking grams of coke."
You want to make 1,000 pounds?
My thing was I'd always go to the source. It's like I knew that the stuff was coming from Canada, so we went up to Canada.
You cut out the middleman.
Yeah, I just kind of knew what was going on. I saw it. I knew the people involved. And I knew I could do it better and come up with better ways to do stuff. So that was always like my thing is I would like, because when we were doing stuff from Canada, that's when I first ever started making good money. That's like when it started happening. I went to Canada. I got somebody up there sending stuff back and forth. And then what happened was California opened up. And everybody and their mother started doing stuff in California because the Canada stuff wasn't as good as it was coming from California.
When you say stuff, what were we talking about?
Weed.
Cocaine or just weed?
No, it was just weed. Because that's a whole other thing we'll get into. But the stuff from California was better. So everybody started getting stuff from California, but he was getting popped on the way here because they knew what was going on. So I came up with this idea where I had a grower in Northern California, and he'd send stuff back to New York and Boston in vanities from like Home Depot, like a bathroom vanity. It's got the sink.
Yeah.
It's got the thing.
Oh, yeah.
So what we do is we get the vanity and we would get one with like granite and a bunch of fixtures and shit that weigh a lot. Because when you ship by ground, they don't scan it. They just do the weight.
They weigh the truck,
just weigh
right?
it. Well,
they have to weigh in stations.
They weigh if it goes through anything, they're going to take the box. The box says 300 pounds. They're going to put it on. They're not going to scan it. So we would take out the granite, the fixtures, and whatever we took out in weight, we would stuff back in there in weed.
Makes
if
sense.
we took out 60 pounds of granite, we're sticking in 60 pounds of weed.
Makes sense.
And it would get shipped through, and we never had one taken.
That's awesome.
Never had one.
Wow.
Everybody I knew was getting stuff popped left, right, and nobody could figure out how it was done.
Who came up with that idea?
How many
I did.
man operation was it?
There was like 5 of us.
'Cause you got to be able to trust people.
It's the smaller the circle, the better.
For sure.
Because that's why people were getting shipping it and doing all this stuff, shipping across the country, and everybody was getting popped left and right.
But did you have to deal with any of the drug cartel, like from Mexico or
not at that point,
Colombia, or
because
like
that's with the weed thing. Everybody was making money. Like I knew, Hell's Angels, mafia guys, Armenian guys, Russian guys. Everybody was happy in the weed thing.
Sure.
And then what happened was so the Canada thing got fucked up because their weed wasn't as good. California started getting fucked up because everybody started doing it. And then all of a sudden, the rest of the country starts kind of getting soft on weed and like legalizing it.
Yeah.
Which I still to this day think is a fucking terrible idea.
To legalize it?
Terrible.
You're a drug dealer, so yeah, you would.
Well,
you used to be.
It's because like I told Bryan, and he mentioned it before, because weed isn't bad for you. All right, I think everybody's in agreement.
True,
with
yeah.
that,
Most people are, yeah.
Weed keeps bad people busy. Where
What do you mean?
we were all I'm saying all those organizations, all these people, we were all involved in this trade, and it was just getting us money.
Now you legalize it, but they're going to turn it to something else.
Exactly, the money wasn't there. So there's a direct correlation between the legalization of marijuana and the opiate problem in America.
100%.
Why is that? That's so interesting.
It's not because people start doing weed and then they jump to opiates. It's because everybody who used to sell weed doesn't sell weed anymore. They sell opiates. So they're pushing opiates and all this other stuff on these people, because that's what I ended up going to prison for, was OxyContin. And so I would have never in my life even touched, I didn't even know what they were, but I would have never strayed from the path if this whole weed thing.
Well, you had to adapt and make money.
And people say, like, what am I gonna do? Go work at Walmart or something? Like,
for
when you're
$8 an hour, when you're making freaking
exactly.
100 G's a week or whatever.
Crazy money. We had cars, houses, like all this shit, and you're in these circles of people. It's like anything else. You get when you're doing, especially when you're doing illegal stuff, because you know how it is in like a locker room with guys.
For sure, you're all very close.
When you're doing stuff that you know you got fucking years of shit on each other, that you know that could serious stuff that people legit die because they know certain things about people, and it just forms this like tight knit circle, and then it's so hard to get out of that, and so like. We started all of a sudden. That's why we moved the.
Because everybody's got dirt on each other.
Everybody's got dirt on each other, but you're close.
Was it all a bunch of kind of Boston white kids who were doing this?
Yeah, it was.
How did a bunch of Boston white kids compete with like if I'm a Hell's Angel or if I'm a the Sinaloa Cartel or whatever, I'm just gonna rob you guys.
But
a bunch of white Boston kids, I'm for sure just rob you.
That's killing the goose. That's killing the goose. Though,
they
right?
needed people like us who
to distribute.
Who to distribute. Because I knew all these kids in colleges. I knew all these kids like that. Just like
you were making them money,
making them tons of money.
That makes sense.
That's why like they loved us.
Did you have to have protection?
Not really. It was like it was. It's like almost hard to explain looking back at it, but it's like everybody knew we were all like connected with each other, but there was never really any like sit downs that were like sketchy or anything like that. It was very like business structured in a way, because when you're at the top, not like at the street corners hustling and stuff, when you're at the top of the game with that, it's normal, smart,
it's
smart
a business.
guys. It's a fucking business.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of these drug dealers, if they would have put their attention to something else, they'd be successful in whatever they do.
100%.
They just decide to say fuck it, and
exactly.
they
I've had
they have their PhD in the
music
street.
executives have told me the ones the rappers that make it huge. A lot of those guys learned the business when they had no other option when they were younger, and they were selling drugs.
Because you have to basically run a business dealing with the shadiest people possible and have it be secretive.
Yeah.
Like
it's a lot of organization.
Smart dudes.
Yeah, it makes running the whole thing like so. You're in a normal business, because that's what I ended up doing. I ended up opening up a bunch of businesses, and one became like crazy successful. Legally, yeah. But then I started using that business to transport my drugs. So the whole thing got wrapped up in this ball of just. I couldn't separate the two worlds. It was just this thing. I tried to get away. I tried to do something, and I just couldn't.
Tough. Too much money.
Couldn't. Yeah, it was just there's too much
Temptation.
money there, and it's honestly not even the money. It's like the I
juice,
guess the
the
power.
thrill,
Yeah,
the
it's
thrill
the
of it?
thrill,
The juice.
the power, the like respect you get from it. Because at the time I was living in Miami, and I mean we were getting into places that like Miami Heat players weren't getting into, because they knew that we were in. It was just one of those things. Because I started. Did Bryan ever tell you about the protein ice cream company and all that stuff?
No.
So this was 2000. This was when after all the weed stuff was over. I was down in Miami. And I was dieting for a bodybuilding show then. I was fucking starving. I wanted ice cream so bad, but I couldn't have it, obviously. So I started Googling protein ice cream, stuff that was healthy. And it was,
super meathead Google, but yeah.
There was nothing.
Super meathead Google.
There was nothing.
Protein ice cream, no sugar.
Yeah.
No, not out there.
No, you meathead.
But
Twinkie protein. Well,
Super meathead
excuse me,
Google.
sir.
Dude, I wanted super meathead Google.
So I start Googling that, and there's nothing. So I go out, I buy a fucking ice cream maker for like $2,000, and I'm in my kitchen chefing up all this shit. And I actually made a formula that was 30 grams of protein, low in sugar.
No
low in
sugar or
carbs,
just low?
2 grams of sugar.
Okay.
And but now I got it down now to like almost no sugar, because
Awesome.
that was before Stevie and all that
Okay.
shit. This was 2000 and I don't even know 8, but Yeah, so from there, I just took it, had an ice cream manufacturer start to make it, had logos, trademarked the whole thing, started selling it to nutrition stores and all this stuff up and down the East Coast, and it got pretty big. And it got to the point where I had these giant frozen trucks that were going from Miami up the East Coast to New York and Boston, and they came in these 8-ounce cups. And in the 8-ounce cups, you could fit 100 OxyContin in the 8-ounce cups. So that cup went from being worth $1.50 to being worth 100, whatever that is now.
Damn.
Thousands.
So where would you put the OxyContin?
We would put it in the front of the frozen truck because the trucks were big. It was like a tractor trailer truck, and the feds would nobody would ever raid a truck.
Go ahead, keep going.
I was like, is he recording it? No. I know. But yeah, you would never take a frozen truck, and go through the whole thing because there's so much money because it would pick up other things along the way.
Yeah.
So the truck's filled with all these other people's goods. Yeah, there's no way it would ever get done. So ours was way at the front, stuffed with the shit, and then it would go up to New York and Boston. Never had a hitch. Never had anything wrong with it. But I got on Shark Tank. And on season 2 of Shark Tank, I was supposed to be. It was when Jersey Shore was huge, and that whole thing was going on.
I was balls deep in Jersey Shore. I never missed an episode.
I didn't. If it still
all
comes on
3 seasons. I bet you're
Never
so
seen
into it.
I loved it.
You've never seen it?
Never seen
You
it.
never saw Jersey Shore, but I was supposed to be like the Jersey Shore-esque type dude. You know what I mean? They were gonna have me on the show.
100%. Oh, were you supposed to be on the show?
I was on season 2 for the protein ice cream.
What?
And so I get on Shark Tank. I get everything set up. I'm going out to film the whole thing. Mark Cuban's on the panel. We already had talks and all this stuff. And fucking all of a sudden they just cut off all contact with me. Pew, gone. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? I was supposed to be out there on a Thursday. This is a Wednesday, and nobody's answering my calls. Because when you go on a show like that, you have to have like all these things.
For sure, yeah.
You gotta have a script because you go out there. That's actually where I first ever thought I could do stand-up because the writers from NBC would send us a script for like 30 seconds to do the pitch, and I'd redo the whole thing and make it funny.
Do it yourself,
and they were like, are you a stand-up comedian? Like, this is fucking hilarious. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, but that's where it first got in my head. But so we had 2-3 weeks we were doing this back and forth, hours a day on the phone, and all of a sudden nobody would answer my fucking call when I'm about to leave the next day to go do the final episode. And I was like, what the hell's going on? And they found out somehow through the powers of all the people at NBC, whatever, the executives, that I had ties with organized crime. Protein Cream was started from illicit drug proceeds.
Yeah, that's frowned upon,
and
man.
then I had
But you hadn't been under investigation, had you?
I had a pending federal indictment coming down.
And
on
you
me.
knew this?
No, I didn't even know this.
Ooh.
I was like, what the fuck? They didn't say anything about the indictment yet, but it literally within 2 weeks, I get the knock on my door as I'm coming home from the gym, and it's fucking FBI, DEA, everybody's there. I'm just like, oh shit.
They handcuffed you?
No, didn't handcuff me. That's when you get indicted, it's not like,
it's not like the movies.
Yeah, it's not like the movies. They got all the guys there, and they've been watching me for 3 years. They have 3 years of shit.
They know everything about you.
They know everything. They come up to me as guys in street clothes, and then there was 2 guys who I could tell. They wouldn't say who was FBI, who was DEA, but they were just like, "What's up, Mr. Pierce?" Like fucking talk. And I was just like, "Oh shit." I was like, "How?" And I remember I was like, "How long you guys been watching me?" And the guy smiled. He goes, "A long time." And I was like, "Ooh."
I bet it's a fun job.
Yeah.
They're probably like, look at this dude.
Yeah.
Look at this meathead.
Bro, when I got in the thing, they had a file. It was probably 3 feet long. This box with lined with hundreds of files. They had every conversation I've had in 3 years on this one phone of mine.
Oh,
Jesus.
And 98% were just shit. Because I had other phones. We had satellite phones.
Dick
we had
pics and
fucking,
shit.
yeah, like,
oh, here he goes. Another dick pic, Jimmy. Check this one out. He's getting better, though. He's getting a lot better.
They even said to me, they were like, dude, we used to like joke about it in the office and be like, fucking Blue Eyes. Look at this new chick he's with.
I bet.
Like,
it's probably kind of fun.
Dude,
like, look at Blue Eyes. Look at this hot-ass chick he got the other
They
night.
were like, because they were following me all over the country because I was bouncing around Vegas, New York.
And
LA.
it's fun. It's probably fun to follow.
It's like, dude, I was like their little thing where they have like, different cases they're working and they bounce back and forth. And whenever it was my turn, like it was time for the Blue Eyes case, they were like, oh, let's fucking go. It was like this little joke in the office. Like,
I bet it's fun as fuck.
And I was like,
but so how much money were you handling at one time? How much money were you making?
It was a lot of fucking money, man. I mean, I was a millionaire many times.
Did you pay taxes or no? Just just enough?
I did that stuff with like the protein cream stuff. I had a big credit line with that, and like that, I didn't really do anything too bad in that thing. But I got hit with a racketeering charge because I started protein cream with drug proceeds. That's where it all came in. So it's not like they call that. They'll wrap in like extortion, racketeering, loan shark. They just lump it all into like anything you do with money from illicit drugs.
Because they're thinking you're just doing it
for
the drugs.
It's all these things, which I think, honestly, it's like I got more time for that. But in my head, it's like it was like a good thing that I did. Like
kind of,
you know, like
kind of.
Kind of in a weird
I was kind of trying to give back.
If you don't mind going to jail.
So then you go to trial.
Yeah, then it's federal prison's crazy. Prison, well, that is too. But federal court's kind of crazy, where it's all plea deals. Like they catch you for this much, and then like they'll catch you for that, and then they'll give you a plea deal for this.
Well, because you're a small fish, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not trying to clown you, but in the grand scheme of things, they want to get where you're getting it from.
Yeah,
they want to get the big boys.
They wanted to figure it out because my ultimate charge was conspiracy to violate drug laws because they couldn't figure out how the hell I was getting this shit all around and doing all this stuff.
Because you were dealing with big time people.
Yeah, because I was dealing with like real guys, like
real gangsters.
Real gangsters.
Talking like mafia.
Yeah,
stuff?
like all types.
That still goes on even today.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
really there's still
when you're dealing with those big time guys, when you're dealing, which I want to get into later, but when you're dealing with those big time guys on the outside, you're always aware that there's very clear cut rules, right? For how to behave.
And like I was always conscious about what I was doing and what the penalties would be. Because I wasn't doing, I knew that I was never looking at like a 40-year sentence or something like that. Because that's
That'd be the worst.
They come at you and they'll be like, "You're gonna do 20 years, trying to get you to cooperate." But like, I knew in my head, I was like, I know they don't have me with anything, and it's 5 years at the most.
Why? Why? Because but why didn't they have you? Because you never handled the drugs.
Yeah, it was like they never had any controlled buys. They never had any like things from me because they were just watching and trying to figure out how the hell this shit was going on.
Were you Goodfellas style? Where did you have a girlfriend throughout this?
Oh yeah, I had a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, and when they asked what you did, were you like construction?
Yeah, no, they knew.
Or you just said the ice cream.
You
told them everything.
They knew about. Yeah, they knew what was going on.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was kind of like something I was proud of it, but it was like you can't fucking hide it. Like the Goodfellas stuff you probably could back then when there's no cell phones and stuff.
Yeah.
What am I gonna say?
Were you in suits and shit all the time?
No. I was just like, I mean, dude, I was in bedazzled shirts and fucking,
Jersey Shore style, son.
I was back then. I was fucking had a blowout and a bedazzled fucking.
Like, look at this fucking guy,
steroided out, shaved up.
That's Jersey Shore. So then they get you. You go to trial.
Yeah. And that's just basically, it's just a hurry up and wait game where they took all my cars, they took a ton of my money.
But you're still in the free world. You're not in jail.
I was out. I had $100,000 bail. I got out, and it's like they'll push they just fuck with you. Like they'll tell you, you'll have a court date, say on a Friday, and they'll be like, "Listen, you got to be prepared to go that day." Like they might take you into custody, not let you back out, all this shit. So the whole week you're getting ready. You're like, "Fuck, here we go, getting everything ready." Friday comes, they pushed it back 4 months.
Fuck,
and you're just like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" So it was literally a year of this shit went on.
Did you think about going to another country?
No, not really.
All right.
I don't even know.
Didn't
what the
they
hell
like
I was
you? Didn't
thinking.
you?
They like. That's what was funny about one thing is I had FBI, DEA guys literally like break procedure, like contacting me, not trying to get me to cooperate, not trying to get anything from me. They were just like, I fucking hate this. They're just like, this is just, we know that if you have your right mindset, if you can concentrate on, productive things, you could do anything.
Sure.
They're like, please don't, because I knew I was going away. It wasn't a fucking like, I might beat it. Like, no, you don't beat federal cases. They don't come and see you until they have enough on you to send you to prison.
So you don't beat federal cases.
You're doing time.
You do. Nobody goes to federal court and wins and leaves. It's not like,
was it just you with the whole operation? There was 5 guys.
Yeah, there was 4 of us in my indictment. I think of them.
Did you hire a really good lawyer?
Well, that's another thing with federal cases. If you know you're going to take the plea deal, which is usually, so say they catch you, like I said, they catch you with 100 things, they're going to say plead guilty to 50. And then if you say no, they're going to roast you for 200 things.
Sure.
So I've never even, in all these years, like I'd go, even in prison, like I met people who, they call it blowing trial, if you blow trial. And that means you don't take the plea deal and you go to trial. And like guys who they offered them 9 years, they're doing 15 now. Fuck. Guys offered 3, they're doing 10.
Damn.
And it's just like, you do
Ain't
not.
that a bitch?
They give you the plea deal and you just fucking sign it. There's nothing your lawyer. So I had a public defender federal.
Yeah, why waste money?
I went to the guy because there's certain organizations have certain lawyers that are like the beast lawyers that you want. I went to him and he was like,
so your criminal contacts provided you.
Oh yeah. So I went to him, the big dude, and he was just like, bro, like I could roast you right now and say, he's like, I can't do anything that, just take the plea deal.
And the plea deal was 5 years?
Yeah, the plea deal was for 60 months. So then after, you good time, you get halfway house, I knew it was going to be like a 3-year ordeal. So it was just
first night in prison. Yeah. How's that?
Well, look at me. I look like fucking Ellen DeGeneres on steroids. So
they were eyeing you up for sure.
No, it was just like, so when I first got there, that was the thing. It's just because you don't know. It's the fucking, it's the unknown.
You see the movie.
Yeah, you see the movie and like it's federal. So some people are like federal's terrible. Federal's the bad. Like it's just, nobody fucking knows. And even prisons vary from prison to prison. So
your prison in Boston?
No, I got sent to Fort Dix prison.
Fort Dix.
Yeah, how about that name?
That's a famous
prison. It's the largest federal prison in the country.
And it's where's
Southern New Jersey.
Gotcha.
Because there are no federal prison. There's one federal prison in New England. Well, there's 2 now, but they're kind of new, and a lot of people don't get sent there from New. They try to send you away to even fuck with you even more. That's like one thing they do. They don't want it to be a nice, easy. I'm getting a bunch of visits. Yeah. Like they send, and even me, I think I was 500 to 600 miles from Boston, and that's like kind of close because a couple of my co-defendants got shipped like way up in upstate New York, Pennsylvania.
Did you get the most time?
No, we all almost got the same thing.
All right.
It was about that. A couple guys. I had 2 co-defendants actually that. One committed suicide, and then the other one was a sketchy thing.
Suicide in prison?
No, before on trial.
Damn.
I had 2. Yeah, I had 2 co-defendants, both not make it.
Wow.
And it was just like another
guy got killed.
Yeah.
So first night in prison. Explain that to us.
It's like the whole prison thing. Like I get there, and it's fucking prison.
No, I don't know.
Well, you get in.
I certainly don't.
Yeah, and I just didn't know what to. I knew what to expect, kinda. So I get there, and at the time I was juiced up. Like I'm like 170 now.
I'd be juiced up too going to prison, man.
I was like,
I'd be hitting mitts, juiced up.
I was like 205 maybe. Just like, bro, like not trying to do not trying to look good. I was just trying to get bulky.
You don't look too good.
Yeah, I was just trying to get
gonna run
bulky.
a train on you.
Yeah. And so I get there, and I had a shaved head, a goatee. I was just trying to look rough as shit, as rough as I could. And I remember just like, kind of just, you first get in, it's fucking gate closes. They're walking you to where the normal areas and shit. And like, I was alone for the first hour. Guy came up to me, and he was just like, you need to relax a little bit. You got some time to do, son. Because I was just kind of older guy. Because I was just kind of like, I was just like, and I was like, yeah. Okay.
Probably right.
Yeah, I was like, oh, so you know what you expect. Everybody says the same thing. Oh, you got to go punch the fucking biggest guy in the face to get respect, all that shit. No. Like,
not
are you
really?
fucking not? Like, what? There were some dudes in there. Monsters. I've shown Bryan pictures of some of my buddies in there. Like,
giants.
I'm talking like.
That was 7 feet tall.
Yeah, my boy, like, good friend of mine, so legit. He's from Camden, 7 feet tall. About 400 pounds.
Like guy, big or fat?
Big. I'm talking athletic.
And he's in there for what?
Shit. He got
being
20 years because I don't know if you're familiar with the crack laws, how you get caught with like
the crack fucks people.
The
man.
fuck,
the
dude, he got
smashed.
20 years, barely had a couple, but he grew up in Camden. It's a rough area.
Camden, New Jersey.
He got 22 years.
No one's fucking with him.
Dude, no, but awesome guy, like one of the smartest, most articulate, like. Awesome people I've ever met in my life.
Now,
like, still talk to
did you have to pick a side? Like, is it Aryan Nation, blacks, Mexicans?
It's separated by race, but it's not racist. It's separated by race because that's your kind of governing group, where like every race has what they call a shot caller, which is the leader of the group.
Shock caller.
Shot caller. And what happens is every Sunday, all the shot callers from the different groups, they'd all meet up together and kind of discuss things, see what's going on. Because if I'm being an asshole, they want to just keep everything normal. So they'll say, hey, listen, they'll tell the shot caller from the white guys, your boy Steve's fucking doing this, tell him to stop doing this. And it's like to try to just keep the place.
Kind of organized.
It's organized because at a place like Fort Dix, you're talking it's the biggest federal prison in the country. There's 5,000 inmates.
Jesus.
And there's not many correctional officers. There's really not at all. Like, you've had times in our unit, there'd be 325 of us in a unit and one correctional officer.
Yeah, they say the prisoners run the prison.
They run and everybody knows they run the prison. So it's like, they're just, so like you would think like, oh, they don't want these meetings going on and stuff. They're like, yo, get to that fucking meeting.
Because it keeps the peace. Because you guys talk about it.
Because we'd all be cool, like, because that's what happens when you first get there. Like, back to that, like a white guy comes up to me, my boy Bob now, but at the time, you know, it was just some big ass white dude. Yeah, I was just like, God, he came up to me and they give you the rundown. You got 2 weeks to get your paperwork in, which is your sentence commutation sheet, your PSI, all this stuff that you can legally have because you can say, I'm trying to fight or appeal my case. But in those documents, it tells if you cooperated, it tells if, you know, you did anything like that.
Sure.
So they can, see your charge to make sure you're not a child molester and anything like that.
If you're a child molester, you're pretty fucked.
Yeah, you're fucked. Yeah. It's a bad place to be.
Likes
what do they do to you?
I mean,
you don't let you out of your
killed
cell.
a few of them while I was there.
They did?
For every, you know, they killed a few, and then for every one of those, there was probably 100 that they beat to a fucking inch of their life.
Yeah, they don't play that.
They don't fucking
so
play that
did
game.
you? So you had a roommate,
yeah,
cellmate.
Yeah, so my boy, he's still there now, but like, so I get there, my boy's this Haitian dude. His name's Control.
Control.
That's
awesome,
dude. He's the. But
his name is Control.
But I'm talking
Control and Stevie Blue Eyes.
It was. I'll show you pictures after.
Sounds like awesome.
There's great nicknames.
TV show. Oh yeah, great. Well, I want to hear some of the nicknames.
But he fucking
Control.
I'm talking about. I've told Bryan this many times. The only times I ever cried in prison were laying in the cell with him, laughing so hard because he was so fucking funny. Control's the funniest.
Bro, you
dude.
make me want to go to prison.
I didn't even tell you about the flag football and all that shit yet. But like,
I'm so down for flag football.
Like,
I got Control. No, I'll take the giant fucking 7-foot guy.
God
the giant
damn.
7-foot. Let me tell you this quick story. There's weights there. I mean, literally looks like Muscle Beach with a little roof on it, so you can lift when it's
Like
raining
the
out.
longest yard.
Yeah, it's like that, but it had a little roof, so even in rain, you could still go outside and lift. There was this one day, there was this kid out there being loud, deadlifting. I think it was 405, and just fucking grunting. My boy, the 7-foot tall dude, was like, "Man, shut the fuck up." He walks over, grabs the 405, one-handed, starts repping deadlifts one-handed with 405s. That's how fucking beastly is this dude.
I mean, when's he out?
He's out 9 years.
We need to get this guy in front of some scouts.
But what was I talking about before? Yeah, so Control. So I'm in the cell with him, and he's still this day. I mean, I talked to him earlier today. I mean, we talk 3, 4, 5 times a week still.
Damn.
And he's like, I'd fucking do anything for that.
How long's he in for?
He's got another, I think, 9 years
okay.
left.
A little bit of time.
Warehousing people.
Yeah. Him.
Do you feel, but didn't you say that the one thing you don't want to be in there is not only a child molester, but somebody who cooperated with the feds,
yeah,
right? Who ratted other people out.
Snitches
they're
get
lumped
stitches.
in the same spot and it's even like
snitches get stitched.
You've never heard that?
Yeah, but it just cracks
from
me
the
up.
street, man.
It's
I'm
like
you are street, bro. You're street.
I'm all street.
Keep going.
You see the camera.
You get it's just not. I mean, especially the child molesters. Like they keep them around as like an insurance policy, basically. Because like I said, you get in there, you get your 2 weeks. Everybody knows your charge, so they know if you're good or not.
How do they know your charge? Like
because that in that paperwork it says.
Can't you keep it a secret from people?
No, because they come up to you and say you have 2 weeks to get this paperwork in. If not, you're in trouble.
Oh,
That's
so they want to see what you
do. Oh, yeah,
did.
you have to show that. You have to show the people. And then once you're cleared, it's like they have a little party for you. Like they threw a little got snacks and all this type of shit. Oh, Steve's good. Like and all this shit.
So how did snacks? here, bro. Here's some Twinkies. Steve's some protein Twinkies, you meathead.
Steve's good.
Steve's good. Hey, so this is what I want to know. So were the white guys? Did they bring you over like everyone? This is Steve.
Yeah, and then it got well.
And they're like, hey, a new guy.
That's what it's like. It's basically like that. But you're with these people 24/7. You know, you can have the best friend in the world, but you go home. You're with these people.
It gets old.
Day in, day out, through ups, through downs. Someone's having trouble at home. You're talking about it, all this stuff, and everybody, whether you're black, Hispanic, white, whatever, Mexican, you all have this in common right now. You're in this shitty place. You're all in a spot you don't want to be. All of a sudden, everybody can relate to each other.
It's a special bond.
Yeah, everybody has this bond, and that's why, like, some of my best friends are some of the black guys, like the whites and blacks. They got along fine, never an issue. The Mexicans were the ones who were just kind of fucking crazy. Because there were different groups of Mexicans, and they weren't Mexicans from, like, L.A. They're Mexicans from, like, Mexico City, you know, Guatemala. They're, like, cartel type, like,
guys.
like, all these different Mexican groups within the Mexicans that don't like each other. That none of us could figure out what the hell they were. Barely any of them spoke English. So it was more like, all right, I don't care. You can speak English? I can? All right, we're cool. And let's let these Mexicans fucking do whatever the fuck they're doing, because we don't even know what's going on. Then they'd have people, but they'd have their own kind of group within the Mexicans that we couldn't even really get to know, because there was so much shit going on. So it was just like...
You were friends with one of the cartel hitmen, right?
One of my boy, this dude Nitro.
Nitro.
And he had
Nitro.
He had a scorpion on his trigger finger, tattooed on his trigger finger, like fucking...
Like a stinger.
Like, he was a serious dude, but he
Really?
was like... funny, like it was hard, like, because I knew
you realize your best friends are terrible people, correct?
Like, it was hard.
Nah, man, Nitro was cool, bro.
Nitro
He's a
cool.
hit, man.
But in a way, when there's nothing to fight for, in a way, when the rules are so clear cut, and it's kind of a neutral space.
Yeah, it's
right. So
if you're not a rat or a child molester, it's accepted, because it's not many like rape federal crimes and stuff like that. So it's real cut and dry. It's like.
Rapists don't do well either.
I don't even know if there were any there, because to get charged with federal rape, I don't even know how the hell you do that.
Unless you carry somebody
super
well,
rape.
You can if you take somebody over state lines.
And rape them in a post office or something.
Rape them at the Capitol building.
You rape them on a bunch of cash.
You rape them on stamps or something.
And it's real, like, it's just it's fucking crazy. It's how. A good way to, like, that I think of it is, like, you know how you think of prison right now? It's this thing that's there that you know it's there, but you don't really understand how it works. When you're in there and you get institutionalized, that's how you think of the outside world. You think, you know, the world's there, it's okay, but you're not in it.
You're not thinking about it, really.
So what do you care what the fuck's going on out there? This is your world.
Yeah.
So it becomes this fight that, like, I hated getting visits. Getting visits was the worst fucking thing.
Remind you of what's going on.
Because you go back... They call it the visit hangover. And my first visit, I'm getting all excited. Everyone's like, bro, you fucking wait till you get back. And I was like, what are you talking about? Go out to the visit, new smells, you see people. It's like, whoa, brighter colors. Everything in there is, bleak. It's not like there's any, stylist or anything. And so you're in this room and, like, it's like sensory overload. You're just like, whoa. Then you get sucked back into the prison. And I was, like... so depressed.
I bet, man.
I'm
because that was your world.
Like, you're just like, I just stopped. I was like, nobody visit me.
You gotta peek into the rainbow.
It's like, man, it makes time go by so much slower.
Did you get conjugal visits?
No, they don't have that in federal prison.
No.
But the visits, they're not that bad. It wasn't like through a glass or anything like that. It looks like an airport. And where all the seats are connected to each other, and when you walk in, you can hug and kiss for a second. Then you just
cool. And they separate.
Then you can sit next to them and hold their hand, and stuff like that. So it's not like you're.
It's tough though.
I mean, but it sucks because like you're touching, you have no human contact. You're tough, not. Man. I didn't hug anybody for years. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have any of that.
For sure.
And all of a sudden you get it, and your mind's just kind of like, what the fuck is going on?
Were there any dudes who dressed up as girls that would give people massages and blowjobs?
Massages? In prison, that'd be nice, though.
Because
believe
it or not, there was a group of, like, there was a shot caller for the gay guys. There's a ton of gay dudes in prison. A ton. And believe it or not, a lot of them are like solid guys. They're in there for drug stuff like that. They didn't rat on people, so like you can't, there are
a lot of tough dudes that happen to just like fucking guys.
Like the shot caller for the gay dudes, his name was Harry Potter. I don't know his real name.
Harry Potter?
Harry Potter was the shot
I'd love
caller.
to see this guy.
He had glasses on, but he was doing 15 years or something. He had like a serious case, didn't rat on, like he was like a,
Did they know like not to cross the line? Like you're not going up to Nitro trying to suck his dick.
Yeah, they had their own little thing because it was like they were all in relationships with each other. It was like, dude, because that's why I have a thing. It's like prison for gay guys is like heaven for Muslims.
For sure.
It's like untapped virgin ass fucking. They're
everywhere.
Just in these little groups that they
100%.
like. And I'd be listening to them like in arguments. Like I'd get in with my girl, these two guys. Like it would just be this whole fucking giant thing of like these groups of gay dudes all dating each other.
But gay guys do get with the shot collar kind of auction them off?
No, like if you were gay, like there was enough gay shit going on. Like if you were gay, you could just be gay.
Yeah.
If you wanted to fuck guys, you could just go get a boyfriend.
Yeah.
You could just go up to a dude and be like,
you could,
and they're down?
Yeah, like it's none of that like prison rapey type thing. Cause
Who
like,
does get raped in prison? Is that?
I never knew of anybody got raped while I was there.
Really?
I knew of gay guys like hooking up and shit. Like they'd sneak off and like do stuff, but
Like straight dudes would hook up with gay guys?
yeah, there's stuff like that going on, and it was just weird because there's some guys we call them gay until parole day. And they'd only be gay when they were in prison, and then they'd have like families and shit.
They get out like, man, that shit was gay.
Yeah, they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
See ya,
Not
gay
me.
boys.
I don't know.
I
I
might
just,
have been queer for a year, but
yeah, I've never been. Yeah, it's not gonna do it.
Was there
for me.
any? Did you see any hits or anything like that, or did your
Yeah.
group talk about hits?
yeah,
on
there was like some crazy shit. Because I remember one morning I woke up and I remember like it was like 4 a.m. and it just smelled like somebody had a sack of pennies in front of my face. And it was just
It was a dick.
That's weird. A sack of pennies.
It smelled like pennies because like there was fucking a ton of blood in the hallway.
Oh, it's the iron from
The
the
iron and the blood. I remember waking up and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I looked out into the hallway because I was on the top bunk and I could see the hallway down there. And it was like 4 a.m. I was like out of it, and I remember just thinking like, "Why the fuck would they paint the hallway black? It's gonna collect dust. It's like all this
It's
shit."
gonna collect dust. It's a bad look.
And then I fall back asleep kinda, and then I wake up again and we're on lockdown. Nobody can fucking move for days. And then it fucking connects that, oh shit, somebody got stabbed up, killed right there. But I didn't even hear. I was just like in La La Land.
It isn't in prison too. There's a ton of drugs, ton of steroids, nonstop, right?
The first day I was in there, so I was in prison basically for like, OxyContin and like racketeering, like gambling type shit. And my first day in there, I saw OxyContin, got offered that, and then a ticket to bet on the football games that night.
That's awesome.
And I was like, what the fuck is this a joke?
I'd be high all the time in prison and betting nonstop.
Yeah.
Cause like the guy from Blow, George Jung, doesn't
Did you
he?
tell him?
Well,
yeah.
doesn't he say I went into prison and with my bachelor and
Yeah. George Young was 3
and
cells
then
down
he
from
left with his PhD in drugs.
Yeah.
George Young was 3 cells down from me the whole time I was in prison.
Really?
He's my buddy.
Was he your boy?
Yeah, he's in San Francisco now.
He got out,
yeah,
right?
He got out last November.
Yeah, that's right. Last year he got out.
So he would, and that it's crazy because like Blow's been my favorite movie my whole
Amazing
life.
movie.
My
I cried when he
favorite
recorded
movie,
talking to his dad.
My favorite movie ever.
I bet it is.
And then I got there and fucking all of a sudden fucking it's George.
Did you know who he was?
Yeah, obviously.
For
I was
sure.
just like, because there wasn't many Boston guys from there, and and you have a number on your tag because mine was 93784-038, and 038 means Massachusetts, and his had an 038 too. And then someone being like, and someone was like, it said 038 Jung. And I was just like, is that from? They're like, oh yeah.
He's a
Boston
celebrity. Is he a
George.
celebrity in there, Boston George?
Not really.
What?
You'd think.
I'd be kicking with him all the
What
time.
is a guy like that when he gets out? What happens? Has he got money saved in?
Oh yeah. Well, he made tons of money off Blow.
So he got. I thought you couldn't make money off a criminal. Maybe he did though.
Well, he had a
Whatever,
book. He had a book.
books,
Everything.
He's
Yeah.
got fucking websites where he sells shit, but he like, I literally watched because it was on FX a ton of times, and it was like one of those moments in your life. Like I watched Blow next to him.
You know what's funny? Is
Did-
the director
did
of
he
that
li-
movie, who I knew, Ted Demme, died of a blow when he was playing basketball. 37 years old.
Yeah.
37 years old. I had to call two of his best friends and tell him. But yeah, he was playing basketball.
So
and
did
collapsed.
George like the movie? Did he
Oh
think
yeah,
it was a good
yeah. Well, the
depiction?
movie. I mean, I don't want to talk shit, but the movie's like ass backwards. He didn't
What do you
get
mean?
60 years. He got 20. I mean, they like did a bunch of
Small
shit.
details,
He's in prison for marijuana. He's not in prison for cocaine.
Oh, really?
The whole movie, things happen backwards. He first did the cocaine, got caught with that. He testified against Carlos later, who played Diego Delgado in the movie. Testified against him, got off, started selling weed, and they kind of said, fuck this guy, and they got him for the weed.
Oh, wow.
So the whole thing, his sentence commutation sheet, his thing, it doesn't say anything about cocaine. It's just trafficking marijuana.
Wow.
So he was in there. He got 22 years, something.
Does he
didn't
have
get
a
60.
relationship with his daughter now? Do you know?
Yes, he was there all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
What a great
Real
ending,
life.
though.
Hey, yeah, no shit.
Yeah. But they, it's Hollywood. I mean, he was.
Well, you got to make a good story.
Yeah, but it fucking my favorite fucking movie ever. I mean,
Fuck
dude, my
yes.
favorite.
I love that
fucking
movie.
love it.
I gotta
he
get-
saved my life. This guy, he really did. And I never really told him because whenever we hang out, it's just me and him, and we're close, and it might be kind of weird.
Sure.
But like now that
You got a
there's
middleman
distance,
now. Yeah, go ahead and tell him.
when I met Bryan last year, it was in Boston, all right? And I just got out of prison, 6-7 months before, doing the stand-up thing, but it wasn't going that well, It's the beginning.
It's a tough gig.
It's a tough road. Still is to this day, obviously. And I met Bryan, and I was right at this point about to kind of go back into that life. All the people I met in prison, all this stuff.
Good network.
Had a 10 times better networking thing going on. But for the first time in my life, I had a positive male influence who I didn't want to let down. And the thought of going back to that life, my other guys who I was, connected with, they would be like, oh, Blue Eyes is doing this, like blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
I felt like if Bryan found out if I ever got pinched for something and went away, Bryan would just be like, oh, like disappointed. Yeah. And that kept me focused.
That's good,
for the first time in my life. I never had that.
That's very flattering.
And so Bryan,
that's moving to me. I appreciate that.
And from that day on, you can look. January, when I met Bryan, we became friends. I just completely 6 months later, I was doing shows at the casinos, doing
well too,
doing big things.
Nice, man.
And I owe, like, if I ever get an award for anything, I'm not. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Bryan Callen.
Thinking Bryan the Kid
Bryan
Callen.
Callen's the first savior in my life.
Damn, that's dope.
That's very moving to me. I appreciate that.
I've heard him say on podcasts before how he went out of his way to try to help people who got out of prison, how you tried to do that stuff and make all these programs, and the guy was like, there's nothing you can do. But in reality, you've done it. You're doing it now, just being you and being the guy you are. So
Boom.
I can never say thank you enough, buddy.
I love
that's
it,
awesome.
man.
What a fucking great. That's very flattering, man.
Sometimes in life, the hardest things are things you aren't prepared for. Like for me, it was getting out of prison. I know. It sounds like something that you 100% think's easy, but it was the hardest part of the whole scenario. When I got out of prison, I was a mess. I missed my friends. I fucking was alone. I was paroled to my parents' house, which happened to be a mile from an airport. And I'd wake up in the morning, I was filled with anxiety, I was all fucked up, and I found myself just going for walks. And one day I walked to the airport, and around the airport there was a giant barbed wire fence, all right? And I sat under the fence, and that was the first time in weeks that my anxiety dropped, my heart went normal, I could actually think again. So I used to wake up every day, get a coffee, and walk and sit under this barbed wire fence. And under that fence is where I discovered podcasts, specifically the Fighter and the Kid podcast with Brendan and Bryan. So I would walk every day and catch up on 2 years of the Fighter and the Kid podcast sitting under this giant fucking barbed wire fence by my house. And it was after a few weeks I was like, I think I could be friends with them. I was like, I feel like I know these guys. And they literally gave me the confidence just through their podcast to get back up, start doing stand-up comedy, get back on my feet, get things together. And now 2 years after sitting under that fucking fence, I'm living in LA, living the dream, doing stand-up comedy. Brendan and Bryan are two of my closest friends, and it means so much to me to be able to bring up your headliner tonight. So without further ado, please welcome my mentor, my idol, and now craziest of all, one of my best friends, Bryan Callen, everybody.